Hi, my name is Carrie Watts. I'll share tips, tools, and techniques for the artist in you. Today's focus will be a continuation of the Elegant Writer, which I have showed you in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to show you a smaller kit that I created when I didn't want to carry the journal I'm currently working on. Thank you to all of you who have sent kind thoughts and wishes for my mom. She's feeling much better, and I'll be heading to Georgia soon. So stay tuned, and I'll show you a couple of demos with the Elegant Writer and how I made my new kit. If you go to Walmart and look in the cosmetics section, they had a group of 4 different colored bags that were all bound together in one purchase, and it was less than $5. And I love the fact that it was mesh. I could see through it, and that it was color because I love color. So in this one, I carry my paper. That I have some multimedia artboard, some 140-pound Strathmore paper that I've cut, and index cards and paper towels. So this is my paper bag. Now, I did do some work while I was out there. These were quick sketches that I did on location. And I noticed that the multimedia artboard was not showing as much color shift, but I also realized I used very little ink. So I'm not going to decide if that's a good surface or not until I experiment with it a little bit more. This one had a lot more ink. This was a little pond that was in the park area, and I had a lot of fun with it. Just let it loose and let the water flow. These do take a little longer to dry when you add more water than I would in my normal journaling. So it was kind of nice just to sit there and let the Texas winds dry it off before I put it away. But I just keep what I'm painting in this particular bag to keep it separate. Zip that up, easily fits inside my jacket. And then on this one, it's all things that I might want to paint with. Now, I didn't limit myself, obviously, to the calligraphy pen. I have a variety of other things here because when I'm out, I don't always know what I want to do. But I will show you some things that I use. I have the water bottle and I always put it in a Ziploc even though it has a lid because if it leaks, I don't want it to get everywhere. I have my calligraphy Elegant Writer, my white pen, which is the Signo Uniball, my favorite 005 Prismacolor. I'll write these down and I've got 2 of those. Here's another Uniball Eye. It's just a nice black pen to paint with or to draw with. It's a little more waterproof, and I usually let it dry and then I paint with watercolor around it. But I didn't bring my watercolor today or yesterday when I went out. I always have a pipette to fill my brushes with. Here's another pen that I like that's a 005 Micron. I've been comparing the Micron 005 to the Pentel. I don't really see a whole lot of difference, but it's nice to have a teeny tiny pen that works. And I carry a mechanical pencil just in case I want to draw something ahead of time, but I haven't used that since in my sketches with the Elegant Writer. I always carry a clip with me so that I can secure my paper towels to a bag or something that won't blow away. Texas winds are notorious for blowing things out of your hands, off your table, whatever, out of your lap. So those are the things that I put in my second bag. But I'm going to leave out the calligraphy pen and water brushes. I think that's all I'll need today. And you might play with the water as well. I just figured out some of the pictures I wanted to paint were on the camera that I'm filming with, so that didn't quite work out. So I just pulled out some photographs that I had on hand, and I'm just going to create a little bit of the rocks in the river, and we'll see how this goes. I'm just trying to lay in some of the major lines of the rocks, heavier lines toward the water, toward this side, because that's the darkest part of the rocks. And we'll see if... And when you're working with rocks, think of them as angles and not potatoes. You don't want to look like you have drawn a bunch of potatoes on the side of the hill. And you want some trees. Might be too soon to be doing some of this, but we'll just see. We'll just see what happens. This is a learning process for all of us, unless you've experienced these markers a lot. But my goal with this was just to learn, try something new, try to find something that really piques my attention, keeps me interested. And there's a little bit of flow of water there. Nice dark rock. That's good enough. Okay. I'm going to take the water brush, and just flood back here. Oh, I just realized, okay, this is multimedia artboard. One thing I love about it, it does not warp. But I forgot to wet it first and let it kind of soften the sizing. So we shall see how it goes since I forgot that. What it does, it doesn't absorb the water like regular watercolor. It kind of sits on the surface when you didn't pre-wet it and let it loosen. We'll see if we can get it to work with us. I'm doing the strokes in the direction that the water is. That was coming down. I want to leave a lot of white in through here. And the water in this area was darker. So I want that water to bleed over and lay flat. The bottom of the rocks are going to be darker just because I put more ink there. But I want to be careful not to make it too solid because I want the water, the image of the water, the light of the water to be evident. And I do want to also be able to lift up. I'm going to pull some of that hadn't dried yet to give kind of a pink tone. I might do that to some of the rocks too. See if I can, not wind, so I can lift that up. By controlling the direction of your strokes gives you more the feel of the ball of the water. I'm using a cardboard table, so it's a little shakier than what I have at home. So if y'all been with me before, I'm not in my studio. I'm at my mom's house. I've been with her for about a month, and she's doing so much better. So hey, Mom, if you're watching this, I'm glad you're much better. She's one of my biggest fans. And shouldn't we always be fans of our children? Okay, now I'm filling in this back part. I'm wetting the top of the rock to fill in kind of the background. Wipe my brush when I have too much water on it. Wet a little bit what's behind a rock. I'm looking at this part and through here. I didn't probably put enough definition of the rocks in this area. There are a lot of smaller ones, so I'm just going to break that up and kind of drag the brush to make it look like there's more pieces back there. Okay, these two need to be way darker. And I need this to be way darker. Some of that. So I'm going to come back with the pen and add a little more ink in some places that I feel need to be darker and pushed back. This whole line behind the rocks, right in through here, needs also some more ink. And that kind of pulls your eye back in that direction. And then this right here is really dark. And that might be, oh, no, over here. Transfer. As I pick up some ink, I'm going to create some more tree trunks back here, kind of dragging those lines up. I'm liking that look. Put some little dabbled of texture on that rock. This is darker. I want some more tree trunks, so I'm going to again pick some up from here and drag it on up. Create a little bit more foliage up there. and down in here. A few more streaks in the water. I'm going to transfer some ink over here so that I can pick it up and move it over here. I want this darker. When I squint my eyes, it's much darker. And all the rocks back here are darker. So kind of squint your eyes and see. I wanted to leave some light back there. And I think I'll stop at this point and then take a look at it from a distance. Because also Mom's expecting someone coming over in a few minutes, and I don't want to be working on this at the time, so we'll see. Needs a lot more dark in the foreground here. But, oh, sorry. That wasn't even straight for y'all. My bad. One thing I haven't tested with the Elegant Writer is its ability to then take watercolor. So I'm just going to fool with that just a little bit to see if it's totally uncontrollable. And we can learn together. Because it might just, yeah, see how it hits the color and just kind of reactivates the pen. But use water sparingly and see how it goes. Might find something that's, oh, I like this. Or it might be, oh, I don't want to do that again. This was a bright set of Jane Davenport colors that I had. I kind of like the color. I mean, even mixed in, it just makes it a little darker. So I'm not minding that so far. Adds a little variation to it. Some little greenery in through here. Now, if you want it to be pure color, then you just don't hit the color where your ink is. There's a little bit of this kind of bluey turquoise that I don't think it'll be a bad mix. Because that blue has such purple undertones to it. I might like this. I can differentiate a little bit better what's the water and what's not. Then I'll take a little bit, oh, I don't have a brown in this. Okay, red and green make brown. Just mixed a little bit. That's going to be the hard thing. Maybe if I just use a little more red. No, that's too red. We'll just pull out this one real quick. It has a variety of browns, so I'm just going to go straight to the brown. And this would probably be a little easier if I wasn't using a water brush, because the water brush adds water, hence its name, aqua brush, in every stroke. So if I just had some brown with the regular water, kind of a dry paintbrush, might read a little bit better. I'm still not minding this, so y'all tell me what you think. You just don't you don't want things all the same color anyway. Some of the rocks are redder, some grayer. This one's got quite a bit of red in it right here, and this one as well. And I might do the same picture with different paper and see how the paper makes a difference. Because right now I have, it's like a science fair project. You have too many variables. Trying too many things at the same time. And when the water is a little more shallow, you can see the tones of rock underneath. And watercolor does dry lighter than you think it will. You can see how I had some of these really dark, and it's now lighter. So I'm going to come back with some of this darker tone, just the watercolor, and fill that in. I want a little more green back there. I liked how, tone that down. How do you tone down green? Add a little red to it. Maybe a little more red to it. This is a springtime kind of color, but the underneath part was dark. Transfer some of that back here. Add a lot more springy, vibrant tones to it. I love the springtime in the mountains. And that looks a little harsh, to be totally honest. I'm just going to let some of that go off the page up here. Softening some of that edge back there. I don't want it to be such a hard edge. There's a little bit of green on some of these rocks in through here. Kind of brings your eye down so it's not so brown. Okay, I'm all right with that. Actually, be some purples in here. Let's add a little bit more purple in the shadowy tones that then run into the turquoise. You hear that scratching in the background? That's Tom, Mom's cat, scratching on his scratcher. Okay, I better stop before I totally overwork it. Tell me what you think. The first picture will be of multimedia artboard, and then the second one will be the same photo done with the same process, and you can compare the surfaces. I did not soften the multimedia artboard. I did not add water to the multimedia artboard and let it sit for a few minutes and then start to paint. I went straight to the board, and that gives you a different reaction. What I love about multimedia artboard, it does not warp. So that part, you don't have to ever mount it on anything. It just gives you a different feel and a reaction to the watercolor than a regular traditional watercolor paper. So I'm going to sketch this again. Turn it on the edge so that you're not getting too much ink, unless you want a lot of ink. It's a little. Again, this is just a quick sketch. Rocks by the river. I really shouldn't be that hung up on getting the actual shape. It's not that important. I do want some darkness back here. I figured that out from the previous one. I'm going to try to do similar things, what I did in the other. Just have some lines that go up and off the page. And let's see. It's dark here. It's really actually dark, really dark in here by the water. Close enough. I believe I hit this first with water in my pen. And I wanted to lighten it up. So, oops, sorry, that got tangled. So I'm going to lift some of that up to give it a lighter tone. It gives that pinkiness to it, which I like. You can hear the wind chimes just it's singing. I really have to keep my hair pulled back when I go outside. It just blows like crazy. Okay, I want to do directional strokes again for the water. I pick up a little bit of the ink that's on my brush and just transfer it. Directional strokes for your rocks. I'm gonna. This does bleed a little better, so I think we'll get a little smoother effect in the water. I want to wet this side of the rock, but be careful that that side doesn't get hit so that you have that hard edge where that rock is with the light of the water behind it. So I'm looking at this darker tone behind it. Wipe my brush, try to keep the top of this rock fairly light. Just let the edge of that show from the shift of color in the value. Now I've left some a little more white, and that's okay. I'll come back and hit this in a little bit. Again, directional strokes. Think of rocks as angles. Put it in, try to leave it alone. That's so hard for me to do. Okay, here's some water coming down here, so I'm directional strokes with water. And then horizontal again down here. I'm going to lift up some of this and fill in here. Now this paper is buckling because it is not mounted, and it is not, it's 140-pound watercolor paper. But I'm getting the feel of rocks and foliage, but I'm going to let this dry just a little bit. Get some texture here like I did on the other one. I want to darken what's in the very back, the base of all the trees. Oh, I do want to drag some of the dark like I did in the other one. Give you the illusion of distant trees because they won't be as dark. And don't start them all from the same place. I could leave that all white. Looking at this one, you want to leave some white. But I'm probably getting more pinks and turquoisey colors without the added color of watercolor. But just to make it fun and even, we'll add a little bit of the turquoise in here while it's wet. I'll add a little bit of the purple back in the shadow part while it's wet. This will probably be a little more colorful, just because of the reaction of the water with the paper. I'll add the green in the background. Some of the darker green to mix in with the pen. kind of bouncing around. I don't want to just drag it right across the foliage. I'm mixing a little bit of yellow with the green to brighten it up a little bit, a little warmer springtime color. I'm not minding that at all. I think I like the regular watercolor paper better for now. Now I go back to my other paint palette that's brown and add some brown tones in the rocks. I don't want to obliterate where the water's coming in between. When I hit that elegant writer again, it does reactivate, so I have to be careful of that. Doesn't quite seem to do as bad. It doesn't reactivate as much with this regular watercolor paper, I think, because it absorbs more into the paper. And I think Mom's guest is here, so I'm going to quickly come to a stop on this and see how it goes. So, hope y'all enjoyed this week, and I will be back in Georgia next week. It's puddling and pushing the color a little bit more, so that's something to consider. I can probably lift some of that up. Let's give it a try. This seems a little more fresh, but maybe it's because I just did that one. I painted this one first and then this one. Okay, got a lot more experimenting to do. But see what you think. I know the colors are more intense here, and I don't think I made it any darker. So we'll see. Have a great day.